In the quaint coastal town of Havenbrook, where the sea whispered secrets to the shore, lived Isabella Vale. At 29, she was a vision of quiet elegance, raven hair framing porcelain skin, eyes like polished emeralds that held the depth of forgotten oceans. But beneath her graceful poise lay a truth that had carved her world in half. 5 years ago, a treacherous winter storm had claimed her legs in a car crash on the winding cliffs. Paralyzed from the waist down, Isabella had rebuilt her life thread by thread. By day, she curated floral arrangements at a sunlit shop, her hands coaxing blooms into symphonies of color. By night, she poured her soul into poetry, verses that danced on pages like leaves in the wind, untethered, unbroken. Yet, love eluded her like a mirage. Suitors came and went, drawn by her luminous smile, only to retreat when reality intruded. She's exquisite, they'd murmur to friends over pints at the local pub. But who wants a wife who can't dance at her own wedding? Can't chase after children in the garden? Whispers followed her like shadows, pitying glances at church socials, averted eyes at community dances. Isabella's heart, once a wild garden, had withered under rejection's frost. She attended dates with armored hope, only to watch it shatter against the wall of practicality. Her mother, with tear-streaked cheeks, would soothe her, "Darling, the right one will see your wings, not your wheels." But doubt had taken root, blooming into solitude's quiet ache. One crisp autumn afternoon, as golden leaves pirouetted outside her shop window, fate scripted an unassuming entrance. Elias Hawthorne pushed through the door, wind-tousled chestnut hair framing a face etched with thoughtful lines. At 34, Elias was Havenbrook's lighthouse keeper, not the literal one on the jagged rocks, but the man who tended the old beacon tower, its beam a steadfast guardian against the night's uncertainties. A former naval architect, he traded blueprints for solitude after losing his brother to the sea's unforgiving embrace. Now, he lived simply, mending nets and carving driftwood sculptures that captured the ocean's restless soul. He'd come for lilies, pure white ones, to honor his mother's grave on the anniversary of her passing. Isabella wheeled forward, her chair gliding like a swan's glide on still water. "Lilies for remembrance," she said softly, selecting stems with reverent fingers. "They symbolize renewed hope, you know, even after the harshest winters." Elias met her gaze, and time stuttered. In her eyes, he saw not confinement, but constellations, vast, unexplored skies. "Then they're perfect," he replied, his voice a low rumble like distant waves. "I'm Elias. And you? You handle beauty like it's an old friend." Their exchange lingered beyond the transaction. He lingered, too, asking about the wild roses she'd woven into a heart-shaped wreath. She shared their story, thorns that guarded the softest petals, much like life's hidden graces. As rain began to patter against the glass, Elias offered his coat, a weathered navy thing that smelled of salt and pine. "The storm's brewing. Let me walk you home." He paused, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his features. "Or, wheel, if that's the word." Isabella laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a breeze. "Wheel works wonders. But only if you promise to tell me about that tower of yours. Does it really talk to the stars?" From that rain-kissed walk, threads of connection wove tighter. Elias visited the shop daily, not for flowers, but for fragments of her world. He discovered her poetry, tucked away in a leather-bound journal behind the counter, and read aloud under the shop's lantern light, his baritone infusing her words with a rhythm that made her cheeks flush. In turn, she ventured to the lighthouse, her chair navigating the pebbled path he'd smoothed just for her. There, atop the spiral stairs he'd retrofitted with a private lift, they watched sunsets bleed into the horizon. Elias spoke of his scars, the guilt that anchored him after his brother's death, the fear that loving again would summon the tide's cruelty. "I build walls against the waves," he confessed one evening, as foam crashed below. "But you make me want to dive in." Isabella bared her own tempests, the parade of men who'd seen her as a project, a burden to be shouldered out of obligation. "They wanted the fairy tale without the dragon," she whispered, tracing the scars on her palms from gripping life too fiercely. "But you look at me like I'm the story itself." Their bond deepened through shared silences and stolen joys. Elias carved her a companion for her chair, a wooden bird with wings of polished oak, perched on the armrest as if ready for flight. "Wings aren't always for leaving the ground," he said, fastening it with steady hands. "Sometimes they're for soaring in place." She taught him to arrange bouquets, her guidance turning his calloused fingers into artists. Together, they planted a garden behind the lighthouse, raised beds blooming with lavender and sunflowers, where knees weren't required, only hearts. Challenges came, as they do in every epic. Whispers resurfaced when Elias invited her to the town's harvest festival. Poor Elias, the gossips clucked at the bakery. He's kind-hearted, but marriage? With her. He'll be chained to caregiving before the vows are spoken. Isabella overheard, the words a dagger to her resolve. That night, under a canopy of stars, she confronted him at the tower's base. You deserve dances and dawn runs on the beach. Not this. Tether. Elias knelt before her, rain mingling with the tears on his face. Isabella, my love isn't a concession. It's a revelation. You aren't a tether, you're the current that pulls me toward light. I've spent years guarding against loss, but with you, I want to risk it all. Marry me. Not despite your legs, but because of your heart that carries us both. She searched his eyes, finding no pity, only a fierce, unyielding adoration. Yes, she breathed, pulling him close. To every wave and wonder. Their wedding was a symphony of the sea, on the cliffside, with the lighthouse beam as their halo, guests encircling them in a velvet of wildflowers. Isabella, in a gown of ivory lace that flowed like mist, wheeled down the petal-strewn aisle to the strains of a lone violin. Elias waited, his vow a poet's pledge. In stillness and storm, I choose you, whole, winged, wondrous. In the years that followed, Havenbrook watched a miracle unfold. Isabella's floral designs graced galleries, infused with Elias's carvings, blossoms entwined with nautical dreams. They adopted a son from the foster system, a boy with his own hidden battles, teaching him that homes were built on love's sturdy keel, not perfect steps. And when Isabella penned their story into a chapbook, Wings in the Wake, it rippled across shores, reminding the world that true unions weren't forged in ease, but in the brave alchemy of souls. No one had wanted her before, bound by unseen fears. But Elias hadn't come to save her. He'd come to be saved, by the woman whose spirit turned paralysis into possibility. In each other's arms, they proved that love doesn't demand flight. It grants the grace to glide. Thank you for watching this story till the end. Sparkles. If it touched your heart, please support us. Thumbs up sign, give it a like. Speech balloon, share your thoughts in the comments. Bell, subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. Your support helps us create more stories that inspire and make you believe in miracles. Your participation means a lot to us. Heavy Blackheart Hash.